It didn't arrive with armies. It didn't announce itself with fire or conquest. At first, it looked like sickness. A fever, a cough, a swelling no one could explain. Then people started dying fast. Not in one city. Not in one country. Everywhere. This was the 1300s. And death had begun moving faster than news. In the early 14th century, Europe is already fragile. Famine has weakened populations, cities are overcrowded, sanitation is poor, people live close to animals, closer to each other, and closest of all to uncertainty. But life continues. Trade routes stretch across continents, ships move constantly between ports, merchants carry silk, spices, grain, and something no one can see. No one understands disease yet. There are no microscopes, no germ theory. Illness is blamed on bad air, divine punishment, or moral failure. When people get sick, they pray. When they die, communities move on. Until they can't. The first reports are confusing. A sickness spreading along trade routes, entire households collapsing within days, people healthy in the morning, dead by nightfall. Bodies show strange signs. Black swellings. Pain so intense victims scream. Bleeding beneath the skin. Doctors are helpless, treatments fail, bloodletting makes things worse, herbs do nothing, faith offers no protection. And the dead begin to pile up. Cities respond instinctively, but blindly. Markets close. Churches fill. Families lock themselves indoors. Some flee. Others turn on neighbors. Rumors spread faster than the sickness itself. People search for someone to blame. Foreigners, the poor, the devout, the accused. Fear reshapes behavior overnight. Parents abandon children. Spouses flee each other. Priests stop administering last rites. Because proximity now feels lethal. The plague doesn't move evenly. Some towns are spared, others are erased. Entire villages vanish from records. Farms go untended. Livestock roam freely. Bells ring so often they eventually stop. There are too many funerals. Gravediggers die. Clergy die. Doctors die. And still the sickness advances. Trade routes become death routes. Ports turn into traps. Ships arrive with full crews and dock with none alive. Cities debate whether to let them in. Some do. They regret it. The social order begins to fracture. Law loses meaning when enforcement dies. Wealth loses value when survival becomes the only currency. The future shrinks to the next sunrise. And through it all, people ask the same question, quietly, desperately. Why is this happening? There is no answer. Only patterns. Crowds die faster. The poor die faster. The sick die fastest of all. But even the powerful aren't spared. Kings lose heirs. Churches lose authority. Institutions built to endure centuries begin collapsing in months. The plague does not discriminate, but it reveals. It exposes how thin civilization really is when fear replaces trust. By the time the sickness is recognized for what it is, it's already too late. Too many roads, too many ships, too many bodies. Europe is no longer dealing with an outbreak. It is living inside a catastrophe. And the most terrifying part isn't how many have died. It's how many are about to. As the plague tightened its grip, death stopped feeling exceptional. It became routine. Entire streets fell silent. Doors stayed shut not out of privacy, but fear. Smoke rose constantly, not from hearths, but from fires meant to cleanse infected air. The smell of decay settled into cities and never fully left. People learned to recognize the signs. A swelling near the neck. A fever that burned too hot, too fast. Dark marks blooming beneath the skin. Once you saw them, you knew what followed. And there was nothing to do. Communities tried everything. Quarantines were invented in desperation. The sick were sealed inside homes. Families marked doors and fled. Some cities banned outsiders entirely. Others waited too long. Faith fractured under pressure. Some clung harder to religion, filling churches despite the risk. Others turned away, convinced this was punishment without mercy. Processions marched through streets, bodies flagellating themselves in hopes suffering might appease something unseen. It didn't. As order collapsed, labor disappeared. Fields went unplanted. Workshops shut down. Trade froze. Food became scarce, not because it didn't exist, but because there was no one left to move it. The dead outnumbered the living in some places. Mass grave replaced funerals. Bodies were stacked, buried hastily, sometimes burned. The rituals that once gave death meaning were abandoned for speed. Survival demanded efficiency, and fear demanded scapegoats. Communities lashed out at those already vulnerable. Accusations spread. Violence followed. In a world searching for reasons, cruelty became a substitute for explanation. But the plague kept moving. It crossed borders effortlessly. It ignored class, wealth, and belief. Nobles died in their beds. Clergy collapsed mid-sermon. Entire bloodlines ended quietly. By the time the wave slowed, the damage was immeasurable. Cities had lost half their people, or more. Villages were gone. Knowledge vanished with those who held it. The social contract that governed daily life lay in pieces. And yet, something unexpected followed. With fewer workers, labor suddenly mattered. Survivors demanded wages. Old hierarchies weakened. Land changed hands. Authority was questioned in ways that had never been possible before. The plague didn't just kill. It rearranged. Fear gave way to adaptation. Communities rebuilt differently. Medicine slowly changed. Public health began, not through science, but memory. Never forget how fast everything can fall apart. The world that emerged was not the one that existed before. And it never would be again. The bubonic plague of the 1300s wasn't just a disease. It was a stress test for civilization. It revealed how quickly systems fail when trust disappears, how fragile belief becomes under sustained fear, how thin the line is between order and collapse. But it also showed something else. That survival changes people. The plague forced societies to confront mortality daily, and then build anyway. It accelerated change that might have taken centuries. It reshaped economies, power structures, and the meaning of work itself. The medieval world didn't end in fire or conquest. It ended in absence. And from that absence, a new world began forming, uneven, uncertain, but fundamentally different. History remembers the numbers. What it rarely remembers is the silence left behind when half the world was gone. If you want history that doesn't sanitize catastrophe, that shows what happens when systems fail and people adapt. Subscribe. This channel explores moments when humanity was forced to rebuild itself. After certainty, after order, after everything familiar disappeared. Mori centuries. Mori turning points. Mori stories about how the world we live in was shaped by survival itself.